but it just seemed like probably the best opportunity to try and do something and come and see you all. I think we'll get started because I probably can't put it off any longer, although I did threaten Jamie that I took all the diesel out of my car this morning hoping I'd run out on the way here, but it didn't happen. I think it's important to say that, and I want to just caveat something by saying that obviously I'm only 9 days. I'm going to Jamie's here because he can obviously hopefully give a little bit more operational detail than I can at this stage, but I promised I won't throw him under the bus at any point, so we're okay. So yeah, anybody wants to stick their hand up and kick off, you're more than welcome. Simon Wright. I won the bet.
Okay. Well, just to say, people don't ask questions. I've got 16, so.
Far away.
Firstly, thanks very much for staging a forum. The last time was 10, so it's what, 3-4 years ago. And it's a shame it's got to that. So thank you very much for that. I'll kick off with season tickets. Very, very important commodity to our football club, maybe more so than ever this summer. So previously, it's basically been, here's the price, buy one or don't buy one. Now, given the unusual circumstances, are we looking a little broader this time? Are we looking at maybe half season tickets like other clubs do? Are we looking at paying instalments as other clubs do? Any thoughts on that?
The simple answer is probably yes. It was discussed at the first meeting I attended as a participant because my FA Fit and Proper Persons test hasn't arrived at that point in time. So yeah, those things actually, I can specifically say all those things have been discussed. We're in a little bit of a, I don't know the way of phrasing this, just a little bit of a, obviously we need a few points just to make sure of where we're going to be. So obviously that's causes us a little bit of an up and down in where we are. I think the reality is we're going to look at if there are any additional offers that we can also do, and they'll obviously be the normal early birds and all that sort of stuff. We're aware we need to try and make them as attractive as possible, and it's probably fair to say the way things have gone here this year is obviously adds another challenge to that, but we're going to do our very best to make them competitive. I think the reality is, and I will say that, is that there may have to be a little bit of an increase simply because of all the costs that we've got have gone up. None of us will take any great delight in doing that, but I think it's fairer to say that now, and we will try and keep that to a minimum. But costs across the club, have increased, and we've got to look at that as well. And I think it's fairer to say that out loud. It's not ideal, but that's the situation I think the whole world finds itself in, sadly, and I feel the pain that everybody does about that, but it's where we are, I think, at the moment.
Does your hand for a manager, I appreciate we need more points, does that take a different bearing? Should we not go the wrong way? It doesn't alter what I'd like, my feeling about what I'd like to see in a manager here, but it may alter who you could get.
It may alter the opinion of some of the applicants, for example, and we obviously need to be aware of that. I'm hopeful we'll obviously get the points we need to stay, and then where we are at the moment with the applicants we've got on the shortlist that we've drawn up, hopefully we'll just be able to proceed with that and hopefully get an appointment made as soon as we can. But again, as with season tickets, we need to be a little bit aware of the wider picture currently, because there are no guarantees in football, and we just have that element, hopefully that very small element of the unknown at the moment that we've got to be realistic about. I know Jamie and I were talking about this before, but when the job was advertised for the first time, the club got all the way through the process of having their absolute nailed-on candidate, and unfortunately at the last moment that candidate then decided that they wouldn't come, they were going to stay where they were. So that was a shame. We want to try and avoid that at all costs. So through the process we're going to be trying to make sure that we're not wasting our time and not wasting the time of the person who's sat across the table from us at that point in time. I don't know if it's worth Jamie just giving an update on the managerial process at this point.
Yeah, so if we go back the first time we advertised, like Chris said, we got all the way down right to the end. We chose our preferred candidate. Unfortunately, circumstances elsewhere meant that they stayed where they were. So we're really cautious this time not to to kind of go down the same route and kind of get to a dead end, really. We've been quite pleased with the applicants this time around. We've had people who applied previously reapply. We've had new people apply as well, and I think maybe because we're getting to the tail end of the season, managers who a month ago weren't looking for a job, a month later probably thinking, actually I would quite fancy a new job next year. So we think we've attracted a few different managers as well. I say we, the board, myself and Nick Marsh, the football secretary, have drawn up the shortlist. We had about, this time, 60 applicants. Once Nick had taken out the applicants that had got Hereford promoted to the Premier League on Football Manager, and those literally that lived in China, we got down to about 30 sensible, realistic applicants. We've now got a shortlist of 7. So interviews will take place this coming week. We'll have a day where we interview, and that'll be myself, Stig, Nick as football secretary, and Graham Turner. That'll be the interview panel. We will then shortlist that down, those 7 down to 2, 3, maybe 4 applicants that we think are serious contenders. They will then be asked to present to the full board. And Richard Tompkins has husked as well. He was included in the last round, and Graham Turner made his kind of recommendations or reports on the managers as well. We've been indebted to Graham because every manager that's applied, if he doesn't know them or know of them, he's known someone that he can go and talk to and kind of get the inside information on. So it's been really key that we've had Graham on board as well. So basically where we are is interviews at the tail end of this week. Presentation will be the start of next week, but we're all too aware of the need to appoint early. Once the season ends, we have 14 days to offer contracts to any contracted players. So we would like that new manager to be very much part of that process. What I would say is every manager who's applied, no doubt, either been watching us in person or going on the scouting network, and they can watch all of our games. Last time we did the round of interviews, every manager knew our players inside out. So I think whoever we appoint will have a very good idea already in their mind of who they want here next season, and what they need to bring in next season as well.
Thank you, Jay. I know it's worth just trying to head off potentially another question, which is what are we looking for in a manager? Jamie and I are very much, I think, on the same page. I can't believe you just called me Chris, by the way, before that threw me completely. But we're very much, I think, on the same page in terms of, we obviously, like you all, we love this football club, and we think it's a fantastic football club, and we think there is huge potential here, and there remains huge potential here. I think we feel we've now got to try and work out, or try and be clear about the type of football club that we want to be moving forward, the type of football we want to play, how we want to present as a football club, how we want our manager to represent us on the touchline, how we want our players to represent us on the pitch. I think we've all probably been watching football here long enough to know that we can't possibly expect to win every single week, because I think we probably spend a high percentage of our time not watching Hereford teams win. But I do think we want to be proud of the way the team represents us. I think we want them to be on the front foot and giving it a go. And my son will laugh because I keep using the phrase giving it a go over the last week. And I think that's what we want to do. I've personally got an open mind as to whether that means we've got an experienced manager or a young manager. What I want more than anything is a really hungry manager who can buy into what a fantastic football club this is, what potentially a brilliant fan base we've got. And I know people get a bit down about the crowds, but when you consider how it's been here at times this year, I think the crowds still hold up remarkably well at times. And I want that hungry manager to be able to instill that hunger in the players, and I want the players to understand how lucky they are to be playing in a Bull shirt. And I want them to realise how lucky they are to have the support that they've got. I mean, Leamington on Friday, 271 people was it on Friday? It was an amazing turnout in so many ways, and that's what I want, and that's what I'm looking for in a manager. I know Jamie shares that vision, and I think the rest of the board are kind of on the same page as well in terms of that's what we want. Experience is important, potentially, but equally there are a lot of young managers, or a lot of managers doing good jobs at clubs at the moment who haven't necessarily got that experience. So I've got an open mind, but what I want more than anything is someone who hopefully gets what this club is about and is going to, you know, give us something to be proud of.
Yeah, I would suggest that this appointment is probably one of the most important appointments we've made since we reformed as Hereford FC.
Yeah, actually, interestingly, someone messaged me privately, and I have had a lot of private messages over the last 9 days. I've gained a lot of inverted commas friends on various social media platforms. But yeah, someone actually said that it's probably one of the most important appointments here since John Newman was appointed in the mid-1980s. So that was someone going back quite a while. John Newman was my first manager when I was watching here. But yeah, we're well aware of how important the appointment's going to be. I'd almost like to appoint a manager who's going to come in, do a blinding job for 2-3 years and then get stolen because they've done such a good job. But what I'd like to do, if we did reach that point, touch wood, if we did reach that point, I would like us to be in a position to know exactly the type of manager we want to bring in at that point. This is the structure we've got, this is the way we want to play, this is Hereford FC, or Hereford, this is the direction of travel. So actually, we've got a smooth transition. It's not, that won't be easy, and there are challenges here. There are always challenges, and non-league football, you only have to read all the links that I've seen on all the news in various places. It's an absolute basket case at so many clubs, isn't it? So it's not easy, and it's not going to be straightforward. But in my mind, that's where I'd like us to be. I'd like us to all be on the same page, and definitely have the manager and everybody else on that page too.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think it's worth saying we're not our club that's got the biggest budget. Now, you all in here probably appreciate that. Some of the managers that apply might not. They look at Hereford and they still see it as a really big club. Now, as Chris said, that's the vision we've got. I know, twice. Stick. Sorry. That's the vision we've got. What we need is a manager who's going to come in and know where we are now and where we want to be, and be part of that journey. We don't want someone that's going to come in thinking we got a big budget and we're there, and then get frustrated after 6 months because it's not happening. We need them to be on the same page that we are. We also appreciate that we need to give you an idea of where we are as well, so that you can buy into it, because, like Chris said, the 270 fans on Friday, you know, 15, 16, 1700 here on a Saturday, it is something to be proud of, but we know that we can get that to 2,200, 2.5 if we're successful, and that's the idea that we've got to sell to the manager, I think.
Who's next?
Yeah, you can confirm that Tim Harris and Mark Richards haven't applied for the job. You've certainly not shortlisted them.
I can confirm that, yes. So if you have more questions as easy as that would be great. Doddy?
If we're going to give this manager coming in the best budget we physically can, surely we've got to start looking at earning as much money as we can off the field. Now, these bars, we used to earn a tremendous amount of money from doing tribute shows in there on a Friday night, opening these bars, doing breakfast, doing all sorts of things. In those days, we didn't have 91 flats over there. We didn't have a shopping centre. So why don't we open these bars and earn as much as we can off the field? Do those things. Get an experienced bar person in who knows what they're doing. I mean, with respect, plastic glasses, what's it like? Crap. Let's get things done properly. Earn money off the field for the club. You know, there's so much. You go to little places like Slimbridge that we went to. The way they use their bars and the money they make and the revenue they bring in by utilising the facility they've got, we don't do it full stop here.
I will pass to Jamie on this one. He's actually volunteered bravely, good lad. But I would say, yes, it is to get the football budget to where we want it to be and where we need it to be, it is all about increasing income, revenue, from everywhere we possibly can. It doesn't, you know, the bars, everything, make it, you know, the shop, everything. That is the way we'll make it. God, I don't want to use the word vision because they make it sound really self-important, but that's not what I mean. But what I want to do, and I'm a very, very simple person, to be blunt, I want us to make sure that we have got enough money every year to run the club operationally, so the club is never put at risk in terms of what has happened in the past. So I want that to be the baseline every single time. But beyond that, my priority, I'm a football fan. My priority is, once we've got that, I want every other, in reality, bit of money that we can put into the football budget, into the football budget. It would be nice to build up a little bit of reserves moving forward, because I think that's a sensible way of doing business. But what I want is, once we know that the club is going to be safe and can be run operationally, infrastructure-wise and all that stuff, we need an income above that we can then invest in the football. And that's the way, if I'm just going to break it down to a real simple way of looking at things, that's the way I would look at it.
Yeah, the easy question, first of all, plastic glasses, that's licensing conditions. We can't do anything about it on a match day. We have to serve plastic glasses.
You get better guns than that.
Well, we can look into that, but that's down to price as well. In terms of the bars, okay, when we might not be open to the public in the evenings, the last 14 days we've had at least one function every single day. Adam...
Yeah, but Jamie, you should be open every day. You've got 91 flats there, walk-ins, Premier Inn, shopping centre. Every time you walk up and down here, people say to you, why is the bars not open?
I know...
You don't even open this after the game. Why into the bloody Beat Club? Give it a try, Jamie, to make money.
Well, we can look to open this after the game, that's an easy fix, but we did it last season and it wasn't used. So we've got to weigh up how many people come and buy a pint to how many bar staff we need and the cost of that involves. So, but we can certainly look at that again, opening this after the game. But if it's not used, then...
But one of the reasons, like you said, is very experienced landlady,
yeah.
Right? One of the reasons that people wouldn't come here, the beer was undrinkable. In the VP Club now, most people drink bloody coffee. Here's 4 here, for example. Because it was undrinkable last season.
Well, my pint's quite nice today.
Well, this is...
I totally get where you are. We can certainly look at it, but my point being, we are open pretty much every day. Like I say, the last 14 days we've had at least one function on. There's things, there's Network Rail use it in the week, British Red Cross use it in the week. There's lots of other groups. So although the bars aren't necessarily open to the public, we are trying and working hard to get them used. But since Adam's been here, it's certainly something that Adam has identified, that private functions in the evening, parties, you know, 21st, 30th, 40th parties, they're the things that actually make really good money. So that's what he's been focusing on. We could look at opening in the week to the public as well, but we do have to weigh up the cost of the wages for the bar staff, actually having the beer on, and then if it goes to waste. So, but it's something we can look at, but we are trying.
And just one other thing, right?
Yeah.
Next to me are Andy, right? Offered the club 3 skipper teams, 2 dart teams and a pool team. One of the directors at the time said, can't make money out of that. Go try telling the Welsh Club, the Richmond Place Club and all those others how much money they make out of it. 33% profit minimum on 24 guys drinking about £5 a night, and you can't make money out of it.
Have you still got those teams?
You have to pay elsewhere.
If you want to speak again, then obviously everyone will know that James Smith has left as commercial director, but he's still very much going to be involved in supporting Adam and his staff on the bar thing, on the bar front. We can certainly look at having Skittles teams, darts teams.
Yeah, but do we need that amount, Jamie? Why don't you get just one good, experienced bar person in, like when we had when Ellen was here?
We've got Adam. Adam's very experienced. He's been in the bar trade for too many years to remember, I think. So,
Who's that?
Yeah. What I would just to add, Jamie's obviously answered that. What I would add is what you're talking about, Dottie, is exactly the direction that we need to be going. I absolutely. It's much more complicated than saying yes, we're going to do that. But if people have got ideas like that, we want to hear them. We've got to start hearing them. I think what we need to do, and what some of the smaller clubs with really good bar facilities have got, is that they've got that kind of sense of community, and they get the support into these places. Now this isn't in any way critical at all, so don't take it in a critical way. But I'm sure if Addison's, for example, or Bradford could be open, if you knew that people were going to gravitate there, you know, on certain nights of the week, then you've got the reason to do it. But I appreciate you've got to do that first to get people there.
Create is what, like we had in the old facilities, where we had a wooden hut over there.
Yeah.
It becomes a place where the football community go and meet.
Yeah.
You know, instead of going down to their local pub, they come down here to talk football.
Yeah.
Come back after the game sometimes and go in there, which we used to do in the old days.
Yeah.
It's more revenue.
100%.
And when you're getting people in, you can do things. You can run draws, you can run raffles, all sorts of things that'll bring in another 50, 100 quid, which all makes you in 12 months a lot of money.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think one of the things I would be really keen to try and push over and I said it a few times last weekend, is we are all in this together.
Correct.
I know that now obviously I've put myself forward, so I'm going to hopefully try to lead, and Jamie's leading the office staff. But we are all in this together. We can all make a huge difference. If things are put on, if they're well supported, there'll be more things put on. And that's not to say they haven't been in the past, but that's the key to what it is. If you can come on a match day and have 2 pints here, rather than having 2 pints up the road, you've played your part in hopefully boosting the football budget. And I think what I want to try and get back is that it's always going to fall to a smaller group of people to try and lead a direction or strategy or whatever you want to call it. I'm sure there's any number of proper business words I could try and use. But actually, everybody's got a part to play, I think, and that's what we need to get back to. We can all say, oh, they'll do it, oh, we'll go for a pint there next week. But come down today, have a pint today. I mean, you know, actually having this event now at midday in itself has got people in at 12:15, hopefully, having a drink, and that's what I think we've got to try and be a bit cuter on, and that's one of the things Jamie and I discussed. So what I would say is, yes, I am going to try and drive everything forward with the help of the board and the staff and everything, but look at yourselves and look at all your other supporters as well and try and help us out, because you can all make a huge difference. And then if we then do get some success on the field, which is the long and short of it is what we want more than anything, we've all played a part in that, and that's what I think we've got to try and get to.
Just one final point on about, we were the only bar in town during the World Cup who didn't open, and we're a football club. I mean, talking about losing lost revenue. Come on, folks.
Yeah.
I've got the greatest respect for you two, and I'll let you put it right.
Thanks, Dolly. Okay, next. Hi, sir.
Yeah, we're talking about the budget for next season.
Yeah.
We had to boost the budget this season, which I thought was a bit of a disaster in the long run, because there was a massive opportunity missed. There was a hierarchy for a start, which I didn't agree with, that you were a better supporter if you put more money in and all that sort of stuff. I think it should have been, say, £5 across the board per month. That's £60 a year. That's 1,000 fans. That's £60,000 straight away. That's easily accessible to most people, and you're all part of it together. You're not, I'm a better supporter because I'm gold, silver, platinum, whatever it is. Secondly, there was £20 a month you got into the prize draw. What were the prizes for the prize draws? There was no advertisement with regard to what the prizes were. That was an incentive there to get people this season to buy into it, and there was nothing publicised at all as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I'll pass to Jamie because, again, I'm 9 days in, so I can't talk about what had happened and what was going on previously. Just in terms of the level of, I mean, there'll always have to be a level of different types of ticket for people. I don't know if that was what you were referring to. Okay, sorry, I'll pass it over, I'll shut up.
Yeah, very good point on the squad builder. We've certainly learned lessons from it this season. The whole kind of setup was stolen, for want of a better word, from the likes of Chester and Darlington, who are quite successful, getting over £100,000 a year from their squad builders. They do a tiered system as well. I think me and Stig have spoken about it already, about what we're going to do for next season, and we need to sit down and have a look at it and see how it shapes up, and it probably won't be in quite the same format as it was this season. It's the first year we've done it. It raised £60,000. the first year Darlington did it, I think they raised about 40 or 50. They're now up to 120 plus maybe. 130, yeah. So we certainly need to improve it. I totally get you.
What were the prizes? You know?
There were
There's
tickets and
nothing
things.
advertised, was there?
No, no.
And the thing is, there's an opportunity there for zero cost prizes,
Yeah.
such as travelling on the team coach, it's going to cost you nothing. There's season tickets, it's going to cost you nothing because we're never going to pack this place out. There's, I don't know, mirror the chairman for the day or whatever, stuff like that you could do. That actually do.
You wouldn't want to do that.
See actually what they're doing. Things like that are actually going to cost you zero, but actually you're going to get people infused and in on it, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
we'll almost want to gain and strength
No,
and numbers
totally.
and all your other businesses.
Yeah, totally. Good ideas, good points. We'll certainly take them on board. Thank you.
Talking about commercials, sorry,
Sorry, yeah, go there, and there. Okay.
talking about commercial stuff,
Next season, first of all the success for you, welcome, and I wish you all the success, but what we want to know, the greatest revenue is when we do pack that terraces, and we will if we can play some attacking football. So I'd be up for crowdfunding to get a striker, because it's blatantly often to everybody, we're not scoring goals. Not scoring goals, there's a big problem. And obviously we want to stay up and then set the budget. But come the criteria for the new manager coming in to play some attacking football. I met Josh on numerous occasions, nice bloke, but he's a defender at the end of the day, not a bad defender. And we ain't got any attack. This lot, we all want to see attacking football, get in there, win some games, you'll start filling the terraces. Coming to Acre Street, Kings Lynn, you know, it should be a hotbed, yeah, where it's a difficult place to come, and it should be. And if we get some attacking football down there, we'll be all right.
Yeah, no, it's on the. That is part of our job description and what we're putting forward in terms of the manager who are going to come in. There are clearly no guarantees in terms of, sadly, being able to score goals. There's clearly no guarantees on that front, but I definitely want to see, and I think we all want to see a team on the front foot, doing their best going forwards. Actually, let's impose ourselves on other teams that come here. Let's not sit back and worry about what they're going to do to us. Let's impose ourselves on other teams. That's definitely the way I want to see it. I can't remember who I was speaking to last weekend. It might have been Graham Goodwin at Paul's News. But we all choose to do this. We all choose to spend our money coming here to watch football. It's supposed to be fun. It's a hobby. It's supposed to be something we enjoy. And I'm damn sure we'll all enjoy it a lot more if we've got a team out there trying to attack. I'm sure many of you, my best season is the season we scored 103 goals, was it, under Graham Turner? We didn't actually get promoted in the end, but it was just the most unbelievable season you could ever wish for. So I think we'd be very lucky to see a team with such attacking flair again, but that's certainly what I'd like to see, and I'm in agreement with you. I want to be entertained as much as the next person, hopefully.
Has Graham applied for the job?
Graham Goodwin? Yes, at the back. Sorry, just shout a little bit more for me now.
Can you explain where we stand as regards the council at the moment with the leases? Are they showing any sort of support towards the club?
I'm going to have to defer to my esteemed colleague again, actually.
So before John Hale left, myself and John had 2 meetings with the council. The leader, the non-elected members of the council, and both meetings were really positive. We spoke about the whole leases, we spoke about the bluff.
Can we have some quiet over there? I know it's boring if you perhaps to stand there and listen to us, but you're distracting us and we can't hear what we're actually saying. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. So, we had 2 meetings, both very positive, talking about the leases for the whole ground, also for the Blackfriars End, and I know the Blackfriars End's been going on for years and years. I remember sitting in the boardroom with Graham Turner, interviewing him, and he said he was going to get the sledgehammer and start knocking down the Blackfriars End. We were that close to having some movement on it. Sadly, that's obviously not happened. I think the key thing from our point of view is to extend the leases for the 3 sides of the ground that we already have, because that opens up funding for things like the floodlights, which you can all see on the match day. They're dipping in and out. we can get 70% funding on floodlights if we've got a long enough lease. So that's certainly something that we want to move forward on. We've also done some work with the council, which you'll see in the next couple of weeks, about sustainability environmentally, and it could open up some funding pots from the council as well for that could see us save money. So whether that's kind of solar panels, heat pumps and things like that. So the council have been very supportive. I think one issue with the council is obviously the elections in May, and when you get a whole new council, you potentially may be back to square one. But it's something that we're working on. It's not going to be done overnight, but we know that it is a really important kind of aspect, and you know, we are talking to several fans that have experience in that area as well.
Thank you. I was just going to say we'll have a little 5-minute break if anybody wants to go and get themselves a drink or anything like that. Just quickly do that now, and then we'll pick back up again 5 minutes or so. Is that all right? This better not be a difficult question.
The commercial stuff that's been coming through the shop lately, and I don't want to blame anyway, so I think it's probably a sign of the times with COVID and lockdown and all that. But years ago, when we were before, we had such a brilliant range of stuff in the shop. People are buying it left, right and centre, all the stuff every week. The last few seasons, it's been pretty average. Say most. I don't know, is that a problem of sign of the times or supply and stuff like that?
I'm going to default to Jamie again here. But what I would say is I think we do need to maximise what we can out of that shop. I don't think we need to be carrying a huge variety of products, because actually there's obviously an element of risk with that, and we don't want to do that. But I think we need to be very smart about the core products that we've got, make them good products, make them products that people will want to buy and, you know, will come back and buy. So again, that's something we need to have, you know, we will have a good think about.
Yeah, I think in the first few seasons we had loans. Obviously when we're winning, it sells a lot quicker, and you get a lot more. The big issue we have is minimum order quantities. So there's a lot of product where you need, the minimum order might be kind of 500. Which it's too much for us. That's going to last us 5 years. Now there's certain products where we don't mind taking that hit. As an example, beach towels. We get asked every summer for beach towels. We can get more. We know they're going to last 3, 4, 5 years, but we're going to sell them, so we take that hit. Now in maybe the 4th year, we had our stock holding in the shop was just far too high, and it wasn't. Having said all that, it's certainly something that we need to improve on. We do know that. We've just spoken to a company called The Terrace, who are online only. I think they sponsor Banbury, but they do lots of other clubs, and they make lots of unique personalised items. So in the next few weeks, hopefully, you'll be able to go on to our shop website and order additional products online only, because there's no minimum order quantity, so you can have a mug with your name on it, posted out to you, and via The Terrace, but essentially you're buying it off us, and the profit margin on that is really good as well. So that's going to start hopefully in the next couple of weeks. I know it's not perfect because you've not got it, you can't walk into the shop and get those things, but it does kind of extend the range that we're able to provide to fans.
I think people are used to that nowadays.
Yeah.
Not going into a shop, everybody buys online.
Yeah.
If you buy it online, you know it's going to come.
Yeah.
You're going to get it.
And the beauty with the Terrace, the range that they do, they've given us samples or designs, but we could literally unlimited. So if you came to us and said, do you know what, I want a mug, but I want the shirt from 1994 on it, no problem, we can get The Terrace will do it for us. So it does open up that avenue, but certainly totally agree with you. We do need to work hard in the shop. What I would say is the first few years we had a part-time shop person, so Karen was part-time. All she did was the club shop and she was great at it. We don't have that anymore, so we haven't got that kind of person devoted to the club shop, but it's certainly something that we are looking at and we need to improve on.
So I think, because we were Macron at the beginning, weren't we?
Yeah.
And every club seemed to be with Macron, and everybody got the same shirt, really, just a different badge put on there.
Yeah.
But we seem to have moved on from that now to Kappa and Adidas and...
Yeah, so it goes in circles. When we were with Macron, every team was with Macron.
Yeah.
When we were with Adidas, quite a few teams were with Adidas. Quite a few teams now are with Kappa, and I think obviously the kit companies, they have a real focus. I think the last time we went out to tender with the kit, it was literally Kappa or Puma that was head and shoulders above everyone else. And if you look at the kits at our level, they're pretty much Puma or Kappa. The beauty with Kappa, next season's kit is bespoke. This season's kit is a kind of a bespoke one. No other team's going to have it. But I think as well as the playing kit, it's what the other merchandise that comes with it as well. And that's something next year we're working with Speed One, who kind of provide the Kappa stuff to us, to provide other things in the shop, Kappa and non-Kappa as well. So we're hopefully going to have more.
Yes, sir.
Is it intention of...
One second. Further back, we're going for a newbie.
Open days?
Open days, yeah, very much. Got to be something that we've got to be looking to do. I think the general consensus is we've got to bring the club closer to Hereford, bring the players and the squad and everything closer to Hereford. I think, God, I did geography GCSE, but I've spoken more about geography in terms of Hereford FC than anything else in my life. I think we are always disadvantaged by our geography, and if we're looking for hopefully the quality of making more noise, I think. The quality of player that hopefully we want at this level is obviously going to be travelling a little bit. So I do see the sense in not necessarily, training elsewhere the vast majority of the time. But I do think we need to bring the squad here more often, not just on a match day for open training sessions. Whether if they're holding any friendly matches, whether we can do them here, because I think we do need to. If we are going to get younger, hungry players, which is the direction I think we want to go in potentially, I think they need to understand more about the club, the people, the fans and everything, and I think you can probably only do that by being here more often. And certainly that, obviously it was a very different time and it was a very different level, but I think one of the greatest things about that initial squad we had was they were all on board. They didn't train in Hereford very often at all, they were generally at Hartbury, but they understood it, they were close to the supporters, and we all felt that we were with them, and that's kind of what we've got to try and get back to. So yeah, so open days or open training sessions, open events, I'm fully on board with trying to do that.
You say that, but Graham Turner, when he was manager, the most successful manager we had for years, the trading was in Hereford. Graham had it right.
Yeah, I completely get that, but the vast majority of the players through Graham's time would have been on full-time contracts.
Not all of them.
Yeah, but the vast majority would have been. I beg to be corrected on that. That was their job, that was their situation. So you could probably place bigger demands on them in terms of them being more local and coming more local, and there was probably potentially a commitment for a longer period. That is the difficulty we have right now. And my feeling is we do need to get people closer, I agree, and training here more often, but also I wouldn't want ourselves to be ruling ourselves out of the market for the type of player we need, because we're making that demand. So we'll have to see. You're going to laugh. I worked at Wigan Athletic for 3.5 years. You hate it when I say that, don't you? But when I was at Wigan, he always does that impression of me. But we had players driving up from Birmingham to train every. Jeff Horsfield, Nicky Eden used to get in their car and drive up the M6 every morning to train. The only night they stayed over anywhere near Wigan was a Friday night before a home game. And they were two very successful players, so I don't think it's necessarily all about living locally and being locally, but I do think you do need to really represent the badge in the way that I want to see the badge represented. I think you do need to have that feel of being closer to
it's like
the area.
today, probably players from Manchester today to play for us.
Yeah.
Getting out of their cars,
Yeah.
we're going to play football on there.
Yeah, yeah.
That's impossible.
But but equally, I don't think that's unique to us as a football club at this level.
Yeah, but it's where we are though, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree, but I don't think that's unique to us in terms of where we are, because if you're going to convince somebody who's got someone who's living elsewhere, going, you can come and have a year with us or sign 6 months, are they going to uproot to come here? That's the
You
thing.
can't get 15 players from a 60-mile radius of Hereford, good enough to play in this league. Come on,
Yeah.
you should be able to play 15 players good enough. Not travelling from Manchester to be 140.
I think Stig said it's a bit of a sign of the times. With Graham, what he did really well actually was get players, so they might come from Northampton, but he'd get 2 or 3, so there'd be a car school, so they'd be coming from all over and they'd be sharing the driving. So they wouldn't all be local.
It's the manager's problem though, it's probably suited Josh Galen that was. He lived in Grimsby,
Well,
halfway extra.
Barrow train, I think, in Lancaster. They don't train in Barrow.
Yeah, well.
There's, I think, Boston train in Doncaster.
Kingsley.
Yeah, I think nowadays club, because we're in the north, but we're so far down here. I think our thinking has previously been, and with the new manager, he made. We're not going to the manager and saying you have to do this, you have to do that.
It's cost though, isn't it? It's got a cost.
Yes, it doesn't cost us. There's no difference in cost as to where we train, really.
Is that?
Yeah, it's still going to be ballpark the same figure. It would be lovely to train in Hereford, but I don't think that's going to happen. But what we really do need to do, as Stig said, is get, maybe it's kind of 2 or 3 or more times a season where the players come and have an open training session here, maybe in a half term and things like that, so that we can get the kids in and watching. The players need to know and understand what it means to play.
You've got some bonding, haven't you? You've got a bit of bonding with the team.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you know that playing for the badge, as you said.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know.
They need to know what it feels like to play with a badge on their shirt, 100%.
Anyone else? I'll go Simon, just go you first. You've just won, I think, now.
Okay. The Brave New World streaming that we're going to have next season. So a few points around that. Firstly, we don't. There's no opt-out, as I understand it. We have to participate, and every club in the league has to participate. Is that correct?
That's our. I will be totally honest with you. The detail from the National League at the minute hasn't been fantastic. What we understand is you're not going to be able to pull out. There's no cost to a club though, so there wouldn't really be a reason why. The studies at the Football League in terms of lost revenue from people deciding to stay at home and watch the game and pay a tenner, as opposed to coming and spending money not only on your ticket but also in the bars and things. They don't think that it really affects things. If anything, it's a positive that the people that couldn't come anyway are the ones that buy. So it's not people choosing to stay at home overcoming to the game. But yeah, the details aren't fantastic, but I think we're open-minded to it and we want to embrace it. We think that there's going to be, we're going to be able to attract. I think with Hereford, lots of people, there's no university. When they're young, they move away, they go to uni, they get a life elsewhere. They can't come back every week or every weekend to watch Hereford, but they're still fans. When we were in the Football League, Hereford United, we used to have updates from the EFL on things like the website hits and everything like that, and they compare us to other teams. We were consistently, when we were in League 2, even when we were down in 17th place, we were consistently in the top 3 performing clubs. And I honestly think it's because we have so many exiles all over the country and abroad as well, that I think for us, we could benefit from it more than many other clubs in this league.
I disagree. I mean, I think some small clubs are really going to struggle. 2 related points, and you may not have this information. Firstly, you mentioned exiles. There's a lot of exiles who buy a season ticket purely to help out. They're not going to get to a lot of games. Streaming is great, but at the same time, I'm thinking, hang on, I've got to pay twice for this. So is that something we can possibly factor into season ticket prices somehow?
Potentially, there wouldn't be. I don't think there'll be any movement on the cost of streaming because that's very much done by the National League. We have to use their equipment.
Yeah, it's separate.
But it's something that we can look at our end.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, if we do a half-year season ticket, exiles who are paying streaming, so they don't end up paying twice.
Yeah.
And just something to throw in the pot. Also, our foreign-based supporters, I'm in touch with a number of them, and of course they're really up for that idea. But the downside, I'm not sure we can do much about as a club, is the cost of foreign exchange on top of the per game transaction is going to work out really, really expensive. And they wanted to know, is there going to be any kind of season ticket option where you can just buy a whole season at one go?
For overseas, and only overseas, because for those who don't know the detail, basically a Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff, at the moment we still can't show in the UK, but overseas we'll be able to. The games that will be able to streamed in the UK are Tuesday or any game outside of the Saturday 3 o'clock that's protected. Now overseas, every single game will be able to be streamed. So they do the National League do a season pass for that. It works out a lot cheaper.
And just to add to that, we will make money from away games being streamed, won't we?
We've made money from the National League streaming this season. So without even having a game, just the potential is there, yes. So there's the formula is a little bit different, peculiar if you like, but and there's been arguments for and against it, but yes, effectively.
Right, I'm going to do 2 more questions if that's okay. There's one there, and Frank, I'll come to you for the last question if that's all right. Yes, sir, carry on.
Yeah. How long are you committed to being chairman for? When you took the job on, you must have thought to yourself, oh, this is going to be a bit of a 6 months at the end of the season, or this is going to be 10 years, or this is going to be whatever it may be. My concern is that at the moment we've got a bit of a rotating door, revolving door, of directors, chairman, everyone else, and it's not good for the club. We need stability, and we need to get on with
I get that question. I don't quite know how to answer it actually.
You must have thought in your head.
Do you know what? I haven't put a time limit on it. I had to when the first talk of potentially joining the board came about. It was something I had to speak very at length to my wife about, because I have tended to obsess about this place quite a lot during my life without ever having a specific role here. So obviously I needed to discuss that with my good lady. She very much was the sort of, first of all she shook her head probably and giggled. And then she was very much of the case that, well, actually if you don't say yes or if you don't think about doing it, you'll probably waste a load of time thinking about it anyway. So you're going to be of no use to me at all. I'm up for the challenge, and as it stands right now, I have put timescale on it, but I'm committed to it for as long as possible. I would be blunt about it. I would say if it started to have a severe impact on my life away from here, I would then have to work out where I am. But I'm hoping it won't get to that stage, because I want to give it a really good go. And I would love to leave I'd love to leave the club in a far better state than it is when I've kind of come into the seat, because I don't think I'd have come into the chair if things were going fantastically well. So I want to leave it in a better place than I left it. If that's 2, 3, 4 years down the line, personally if I am going to leave it in a better position, I don't see that being 6 months or a year or probably even 2 years. So I am setting my stall out probably that you lot are stuck with me for a fair while.
Until you lose your hair.
Well, do you know what? It was quite funny, because obviously I was announced about 12:30, wasn't I, last Saturday? April 4. I refused to put it out before midday. And I walked in, and my son's football match, the referee had overslept, so I had a really good first day, because I was already running late coming from Evesham United. And the first thing I did is I walked into the main in through the players' entrance and was greeted by the Boston chairman. And someone introduced me to him, and I was a bit like, oh yeah, I'm the chairman, that's right. And I shook his hand, and I said, he said, I'm so-and-so Boston chairman. I said, I'm Chris Ammonds, Hereford chairman of 2 hours. And he started to giggle, and he had a lovely fella, but he had an absolutely immaculate head of grey hair, and he went like that to himself. And I just said, I'm done with that already, don't worry, it's not an issue for me, it's all going to be okay, so that's all fine. But yeah, I'm committed to giving it a go, and like I say, if we are going to start moving this club towards where we all want it to be, it isn't going to be a short-term thing. I think it's the likelihood is it will take time. There are lots of ideas, lots of things we've got to implement. There's going to be some patience required, probably by me as much as everybody else. But I am committed to it, and I am going to give it the best go I possibly can. So Frank, I'm going to wrap up with Frank's question. He's been desperate
Not
for...
a question.
Oh, no.
It was adding on to Simon's thing about streaming. I've got the ISP addresses here of people who are listening to the radio. And amazingly, at the peak this afternoon, we had 147. Only 4 of those are in Herefordshire. Now that's interesting because none of those will be coming to the match this afternoon and probably be listening to us. That's how important it is to exiles.
Perfect. Right, I will take, as Frank didn't actually ask a question, we may as well finish, we may actually finish with one question. If anybody wants to ask one more before we go, I'm more than happy to have a go at answering it. Or equally not. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign, Jay. Oh yeah, go on, there's a waiver at the end.
Pass the microphone to Jane, because she won't be able to answer this one.
I'm going to do this all the time now.
Can you tell us how many players of the current squad are contracted for next year? Depending on in this league.
1.
Oh,
That was easy.
Is that a centre back or a centre forward?
Yeah, centre back or centre forward. That's a very good question. I think we're just going to just to add one thing on the whole football side of things is that I personally believe that when we do choose, hopefully, touch wood, the right candidate and the candidate's going to drive us forward. I do believe we need to keep a tight rein on the spending and all that side of things. But equally, I also feel if you appoint a manager, you're appointing them because hopefully they're a football expert and that's their qualification. So they will get the support. There is obviously within the squad at this level, there is a mix of players who are under contract and players who aren't under contract. And you obviously always run the risk of someone who's not under contract being approached and being able to go elsewhere. But we will obviously be looking to protect any assets that we do have. As Jamie said, we've just got the 1 player under contract as it stands next year, but there have already been conversations between the board about who we feel are players that potentially we would like to see here again next year, but equally that's going to have to be something that we speak to our new manager about when appointed and go through that. As Jamie says, if we're getting the candidate that we want, who we think is the right candidate, they will have done their homework, they will have watched teams. Certainly the previous candidate who was unanimously the one that everybody wanted, I think that's fair to say, isn't it, Jay, had done a lot of homework and knew a lot about the squad, even though he was only going through the process of, at that stage, applying for the job. So hopefully we'll get that right. I firmly believe you've got to allow the football person to run that side of it, but it's got to be within the constraints or within the guidelines that are set out at the very start. So yeah, I think that's simple as. But I don't think there's anything else. What I would say once again is my genuine belief is that we have all got to play a part in this. I definitely can't do it myself. Jamie can't do it by himself. The board can't do it without the support of everybody. These are tough times. We know that. It's difficult financially for everybody. And it's not difficult. And if there are decisions we make that increase, as I said, the likelihood we may have to increase season tickets slightly, that will be taken with a really heavy heart because we do understand the way the world is at the moment, but we would only do that because we feel it's something we have to do given the fact that all our costs will be going up as well. So what I would say is if you can support any events we put on, if you can come here a little bit earlier and spend more money over the bars here on a match day, that's all part of the income. I'm about the football. I want the club to be safe forever, but I'm about the football. Jamie's about the football. I guarantee you that everybody behind the scenes is about the football and having the best football team and the best football club we possibly can. And I genuinely believe, just seeing so many of you here this morning, if we all work together, I genuinely believe we can get this club to a level that I believe it should be at. So thanks again for your time, everybody, and thanks for interest. Cheers.